There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died. Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. He was the swing and the dance captain and Carbuckety and a bunch of other stuff in the 2016 Broadway revival of Cats. So welcome, Tanner Ray Wilson, and thank you for joining me.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
It's always fun to talk to a dance captain because you have, I think, a unique perspective of knowing way more about the show than others do. By force of having to learn so many different tracks. But before we get into that, I always love to hear your history. Like, what is your Cats history before the show? So had you seen it? Did you see it as a kid? Did you do it anytime before? Like, what was your background?
I had definitely seen, I was one of those 90s kids who had the VHS who watched it and was kind of like horrified and also mysteriously inspired at the same time. But I had definitely seen the movie, and I got the show without having actually seen even the production that I was joining. So the first time I saw Cats was when I had booked it and they gave me a free ticket.
Wow. Okay. So you knew the 1998 movie as
Yes.
like that right age, saw it. You said horrified, which is the right description for that show.
But also I should clarify and say that I did love it. I wasn't like, we sought out to see the movie multiple times because we were just so confused and we liked it.
Yeah. And then you've never seen a stage production until you booked the show and you go to watch the cast you're going to be joining.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. I mean, honestly, I feel like as far as introductions to seeing Cats, mine was top notch.
Yeah.
Top tier.
So walk me through that first viewing in probably 2016, 17?
2016. Yeah, this was in October. So I was the first non-original cast member to join this production. And I booked it in September and I started immediately, like the next day, which was a Tuesday. And I had a rehearsal with Kim Craven, who was the resident choreographer and kind of like was like the Hagrid of Cats, like took care of everything and kept all the keys and stuff. But she rushed over with me to watch for the first time. And I remember not panicking yet because I did have one specific cat that I could follow the entire time and do homework in real time. But when I thought about being a swing, and this was probably later on, but when I thought about swinging, it was a more overwhelming experience. But the first time it was, I mean, obviously incredible. I just kind of was like geeking out and confused still by the show, but very, very, very happy to be there.
So when you're doing that first viewing, you're going in as Carbuckety. So you're going to go in for one cat. Did you really like embrace the show, or were you just like following Carbuckety the whole way through, trying to figure out what your life was about to be?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I think there were moments that I didn't anticipate to be overwhelming. And I was happy that I was like moved at the theater by the show that I was joining, because Cats is Cats, and you either really love it and you lean in and you drink the Kool-Aid, or you watch it from a distance and you see that it's not going anywhere and it just comes back. But I leaned in and I loved it, and I followed the character, and luckily he just kind of like jumps in and out of the spotlight every now and then you get to watch the rest of the show. So it was pretty great, honestly.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
So now you're coming in, you're learning Carbuckety. How much, like, what is it coming in later in the run? Like, do you do Felinity school? Do you like get the story told to you? Like, how much is told to you at that point?
It's like, I would say if the original cast went to Felinity school, I had a homeschooled version of that.
Okay.
I definitely had like one-on-one teachings with Kim, and she did a great job as like a scribe and a historian and passing along the knowledge that she learned when she was in Felinity class. And, later on down the road, Chrissy Cartwright would come and she would give her knowledge, and she has like an endless amount of knowledge on it. So I learned eventually, I would say, but coming into it, it was more about staying in the right spot, don't get hit by the boot, watch out for these people, make sure that you're like not going to die, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not even given like a backstory. You're just like, hey, here's where you need to be, and don't mess it up.
No, they definitely give you a backstory because believe it or not, there are things that are plot driven in Cats and that you actually have to be cognizant and aware of. But like the ball, for instance, there would be a lot of direction in that, lots of acting beats and moments that make it kind of more of a ballet than a musical theater piece. But we were very specific, and they give each cat 3 words that they're supposed to embody.
Do you remember Carbuckety's?
In true Carbuckety fashion, I forgot, as he would. So I know one of them was like brave. So he was a brave, like teenage cat. Okay. I liked it. I felt like it was like an easy one to understand. He was just kind of like Meowth, if you've seen Pokemon. Just like a little rambunctious and mischievous, and wants to be like Tugger, wants to be like Mungo Jerry, but doesn't quite have it yet.
Yeah, I haven't done as deep of a dive into Carbuckety, so let's actually go into this now, because I did want to ask you, tell me what is his, like, if you're writing the prequel to Carbuckety coming to the ball, like, what am I learning about him?
You are learning that he is at a delicate time in his life as a Jellicle. He's not yet a cat, but not a kitten. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's somewhere in the middle. So I would imagine that it's pretty angsty. I think that he shows out a lot because he's at that tender age of, feelings and stuff. So I think that he probably has a pretty uneventful life. And when he gets to the Jellicle ball is when he starts to like show out and be that bad boy that he wants to be. But I don't think that he has the confidence to do that on his own.
Okay, so he's kind of wanting to be the future Tugger,
for sure.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at an age kitten, teenage cat like a Carbuckety, do you believe, like, did you play that you even have a chance of being picked to be reborn, or is it
no
chance?
No. It was kind of always my understanding that the kittens were just there to learn the ritual.
Okay, so they're
just see it and to like absorb that and be like, yeah, me someday, this is going to be me. But no, in my eyes, it was always meant for the adults to be like, oh, do I have a chance? And more so the adults that have like a pageant style number, do I have a chance?
Yeah. Someone's got a ballad that you could sing to be,
exactly.
To be considered. Okay. So you're Carbuckety for a period of time, and then you become a swing, right?
Yes. So I covered Giuseppe Basilio's medical leave when he was Carbuckety. So he was the original. And I did that for just about 5 months. And I was lucky enough to already know that I was going to be a swing. So as I am Carbuckety, I'm learning these other cats. And I'm learning Coricopat first, and that's an experience. I'm learning, then after that, 5 other cats along the way over the year and a half that I'm there. But swinging was like chapter 2 and like the fastest roller coaster ever because I had never done it before.
So that's that. I find the whole concept of being a swing fascinating. Like, it's already a very grueling and difficult show to be able to do and to be able to learn. I think you said 5 tracks.
Yeah.
How is it going back and forth between those personalities? Like, to go from one, because it is a loose plot, and so a lot of it is how you're acting and playing the character in that moment. How do you like mentally go from a Tuesday to this person to a Wednesday to this person to a Thursday to this person?
I'm going to raise that up a level and go even like from act 1 to act 2.
Really? Okay.
Oh, for sure. There were times, and Cats, bless it, it is just a show that you cannot have enough swings. There's not enough coverage. It's a wild beast. And there was one show that we had someone swung out, which was a luxury that we had at Cats, where we would swing an onstage member out and put in a swing so that people could have experience also, so that onstage players could rest. And I was in one track. I think I was on for Carbuckety, and the person who was playing it at the time, Jacob Carr, he was swung out, and I was, everything was fine. Somebody gets hurt inevitably. And they're like, you know what? You're actually the only one that can now go on for Coricopat. So we're going to have to change you from Carbuckety to Coricopat. We're going to have to put Jacob into the show. I was like, oh, amazing. I don't know why I wasn't like bothered, but I was like, this is such a fun like test. Like, let's do it. And we did it in 7 minutes.
So you got
I changed.
completely changed. I mean, full makeup, everything.
Full makeup. Yeah, we had the head of the makeup department was doing my right side of my face, and I was trying my best to mimic her on the left side. Obviously, she was a professional.
Yeah.
We made it work. It was fine. It was exciting, but it's funny because if you want to look at the characters, Carbuckety is this, like we were just talking about, I'm a crazy, rambunctious teenager, and Corcopat is like a wizened old psychic twin, and he starts that with that vibe at Act Two with Old Deuteronomy. So that was wild. It was wild, regardless of who I was on for and what was happening.
So how did you make that change? Like, did you like just take a deep breath and go and start to be a new person? Like, I mean, that is a dramatic shift from a, like, I think maybe I'll phrase this a little differently. I think a lot about as a, I watch a lot of sports, I play a lot of sports. And when you go and you start and like, you kind of prep for an event and a big game when you're playing a game. So like I play hockey, I play forward. And if all of a sudden in the middle of the game, someone's like, someone's hurt, go play defense. I had just prepped all game to play forward. And now I have to completely change my mindset. Like I wouldn't be at my top performance. How is that? Like how is, it's obviously challenging. You make do, but
yeah,
how do you, like, what is the method in the moment to try to get yourself from character A to character B?
The method in the moment for me was always to just like remember the homework that you had already done on this person or this character that you're playing. So I was lucky enough to, you have to have a mindset. You're either kind of born with it or not. And that's why swinging is tricky. You either can fall into this almost like obstacle course like mindset where you can easily see which lane you're in. And Cats kind of, because it was so hard, was easier to go into that lane. But I definitely feel like for that instance in particular, the adrenaline pushed me through whatever choices I was going to be making as an actor anyway. So it probably wasn't until after we had gotten onto the stage, and luckily it's moments of happiness and you're literally lying there and just kind of taking it in. So I think there was a lot of like, oh, you were just this. And now it's like everyone kind of gets thrown for a loop because not only are you trying to recognize who I am as a human, but you also know that I was just a different cat. So it takes a second. I think you do take a deep breath. You have to remember that you should actively flip on your brain and think of it as an obstacle course for a second before you try to make any artistic life-changing choices.
Well, your poor twin too. I mean, you're partnered with somebody.
It's such a symbiotic relationship. If you're not warmed up with your twin, or if you have to all of a sudden just like kind of jump into that, it could be a little clunky sometimes, for sure.
It's also one of the few shows that you can get away with it because you're in makeup and costume, where there's so many other shows where it's like, I think of, it's just another person. It's like, it'd be pretty obvious. And I know it happens. I know that they just kind of make do and run with it, but it's a little less obvious in Cats.
It is a little bit less obvious. And even when you have to make an announcement in the middle if something were to happen, then it's still a little more mysterious. People tend to forget.
Yeah.
But some people do know. Some people are at the stage door clocking you like, you were this one. I know you looked at me at this moment. And you're like, wow, okay. People love Cats. People are really watching.
I've talked to some of those fans. They know. They're watching because they're going, like, their goal is to see certain people do certain tracks.
Yes, exactly.
As part of their like way to go see it, which is a different level of fandom than I definitely have.
It's admirable, but it is certainly something that I haven't been able to muster that much energy as a fan for anything.
My passion, even in this show, which, you know, is multiple episodes of recording in, my passion is about a very different part of the show than the wanting to see a certain person do a certain part of it. It's I want to rewrite the ending of the show, which is, I think, a different fandom. So
it's fun though. I'm so into it. I do often like fanfic in my mind about ways that Cats could have gone.
Okay, well, we're gonna get into those soon. Tell me about. So you did 4 other. Who else did you swing for?
So I said 5. I think I did more. I covered Carbuckety, Corcopat, Tumble Brutus because I'm a gymnast. I covered Alonzo. I covered Mungo Jerry. And I covered Mr. Mistopheles.
So you covered every teen basically that you could do.
And Pouncival.
And 7. Okay, so 7. Wow.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite to do?
That's actually really tough. And I will say I did think about this, but it is hard to say because I was there for a while and I did certain cats a lot. Like I did Coracopat a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I did love that one. It was super dancey. It was very partnery and the makeup was fun. And I did it. I was on stage for my twins' Broadway debut one night and we were both doing the track for the first time. So that one had a little bit of like a steam to it as well as Carbuckety. Mr. Mistopheles was fun, but I very much knew my place in that line of coverage. And when I went on, it was an event and I was terrified and I did my best. And flying in from the ceiling is something that is just inevitably going to kind of keep you on your toes. So that one was obviously special, playing a Broadway principal on stage, maybe for the only time ever in my life, who knows? But that one was fun. I think my favorite, though, I'm going to have to say it was Carbuckety because I knew it the best. I was allowed to make a little bit of choices at the beginning to make it a little personal. And you don't always get to do that as a swing. And Cass was forgiving in that way most of the time. And it was, I really had a good time with that.
That's awesome. Now you become the dance captain towards the end. Tell me about how that comes to life. And then what all, like, I guess you covered 7 cats, so you probably you already knew 7 tracks, but what does that extra responsibility look like for you?
That extra responsibility for me at the time was kind of going hand in hand with the amount of food I had on my plate as a swing. So the evolution into dance captain for me kind of, and I'm avoiding flattery because it wasn't a situation of flattery. I knew the most about a certain amount of cats, so it just made sense for me to become that. We knew that the show was kind of closing soon. We had already gotten our closing notice. So I was there to just complete the tasks that needed to be done. And I got to put a couple of people in the show, which was really fun for me because that is like a treat that a dance captain gets to do. And it was Old Deuteronomy, which also I didn't know that track. So getting to learn what he's up to the entire time is hilarious because he dances a lot more than you think. And Nathaniel Stampley was a champion and dealt with me learning on the fly and teaching him and putting him into the show so fast. It was just a different type of responsibility, but something I was prepared for in Cats as a whole by Kim Craven. She was amazing.
Do you have to be the one to break to Old Deuteronomy that they have to sit there during intermission?
You know what? I think I did actually break that to Nathan Stampley because he asked me in a rehearsal and I was like, yeah, so that's, but I think he had seen the show. Like, I'm sure people are like assuming that it's just still a thing because it is.
Yeah, I was not prepared for that when I saw the show the first time. I thought it was a mistake. I thought because I saw a preview and I really thought it was a mistake or it was a prop. Yeah. And then
that's fair.
And I think it was Q is the one I saw. I think he moved. And I'm like, this is actually up there. And then the second time I saw the show, they were like, people were up there taking selfies and all kinds of stuff. And it's like part of the whole experience.
Yeah, that was the goal. That was like apparently a tradition that they started in the 80s with like Santa Claus at Macy's style ropes on stage, and like you could buy your prints at the front. So they wanted to recreate that. I had no idea that was a thing. I too was shocked when I first saw it. I thought Old Dude was taking a breather and that the swarm was happening. I was like, okay, no one's saying no. I guess this is.
I didn't know what it took to get. I didn't get invited up. It's the Instagram, TikTok version of the '80s Polaroid picture, probably. But I was just not prepared for that. But and so I can imagine as the dance captain having to be like, and by the way, that 15 minutes that you really enjoy after dancing for so long, you don't get them.
You don't get it. That sip of water that you want before you sing your big solo. You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
But Q would move sometimes to get water. Okay. He would very slow. He would do a great job. He would basically stealth his way over to the corner and he would get water because he deserved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a tough thing. You go right into your song, right? Like,
That big, yeah, opera. I mean, hey.
crazy. Okay, I want to. You mentioned that you've rewritten the end of Cats, so I want to hear some of your theories, your stories. Like, what other like craziness can you provide being an insider?
Okay, well, I can say because I can't pick Macavity to win at the end of this. He can't be the cat that I choose. So one ending that I have rewritten is that the cats have a moment of true clarity and they come together and they're like, wait, can we just convince this fool that he is the choice to go to the Heaviside layer? That way, the one plot point in this show can be wrapped up. Like, just trick him into dying and he'll come back as a different cat. Like, that sounds optimal to me.
So
That's my main theory.
one theory is murder Macavity so to get him out
Trick
of the
Macavity into
not being reborn, just dying.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Basically.
I mean, I can see that. The one thing that this show misses, which is what bothers me, is there's no conflict resolution. And I think that Macavity could provide that if you really wanted to. So your point is that Macavity like kidnaps his potential brother. I think that's the thing. And then he kind of just goes away and it's like, all right, we'll just invite him again next year.
Yeah, there's no justice. And I feel that justice must be served for Macavity. He does horrible things. He's a nuisance. He's breaking things. He's inspiring the youth in the wrong way, in my opinion. So I believe that he should be basically hoodwinked into dying.
Okay, so I like that's one good way. What else you got?
Yes. I mean, that's pretty much it. There were so many like I'm your grandma now moments with Jennyanydots on stage for some of the children that wouldn't really go anywhere. But I do believe there's something between Pouncival and Jennyanydots. There's a special love connection, and it's taboo because he is younger. But I think she knows.
Well, most of your Jennies were also young, right?
That was the issue. Is that Eloise Croft, who is like a hot performer, and we love each other, and that just like it's funny because Jenny, yes, typically is like the matronly type and cast a little bit older, and Eloise was my age, and we would just create impossible storylines on stage in moments of absolute silence that people aren't privy to because we were facing up stage or something and they couldn't see. But yeah, there were a lot of moments that I feel like if you like pitched it quickly in a room full of writers that someone could pick up on it. But the only thing that I've been able to see through to the end is the coup of Macavity. Okay.
So you've got a potential love story with Jenny and Pouncival. That's an unwritten. Who else? Who else is like kind of this one's really not talked about a lot, but I think I see some of that.
Alonzo and Cass.
Ooh, okay.
I think that they're both really bisexual, and I think that, or maybe even pan, I don't know what it is for them, but Cassandra is a queen to me and just absolutely one of the greatest, like most mysterious, most like, if you have a creative approach to Cass, I feel like the least about her, so just take it and run. But I think they could have something. They're adults, and I think she's like could cougar him a bit.
She's supposed to be timeless. Like the more I've learned about her, it's just like she's just kind of like very mysterious and a little strange and kind of okay. So
when she comes out of the pipe in the beginning, this is a note that Chrissy gave about Cassandra. I should say Cass. She comes out and her hand is like out in front of her eyes and her foot is darting out into the back. And Chrissy says, "You should feel as though you can see 10,000 years into the future and also 10,000 years into the past." And to me, that is just the wackiest, like most like epic note you can give about it. Like, what does that mean? But sure.
Every time I talk to somebody, I hear some like just wild thing like that, where it's like, this is the direction. And it's like, okay, I get it. It's really cool. It's really interesting. It's like, we're talking about cats. Like, we're talking about a cat. And it's like, we've got this one and we've got one murdering one. And we're talking about hypothetically trying to kill, like, hoodwink one. And we've got one where we've got a taboo, potentially family-based, older and younger cat here that are getting together. And there's just a lot going on.
Yeah. I mean, when you take the humanity out of a show and you give it to a group of young professionals like myself and the cast that I was a part of, the world is your oyster. There were Mungo Jerry Tugger moments that I could talk about.
Keep going. I want to let's fill in as many of these as we can. Like my goal is to try to solve the Cat's family tree and all the other nuances, or even I call them the dotted lines. You know, they're not the family lines, but there's some dotted lines in there.
Oh, for sure.
So
for sure.
Which other ones am I missing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know that you know about Tugger and Mephistopheles.
If you read any Cats fan fiction, everyone knows about it. Like that's all that's out there. It's
and
all of it.
The dressing room was decorated with fan art that depicted that as well, which was beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard from both Jeremy and Tyler about the craziness. I've like wanted them to. I kind of want to see it, and at the same time, I'm like, I also maybe not sure I want to see the fan art that's coming with that.
Right.
But yeah, that one's known. That one's very well known. That one's very well documented. It's got its own, Tugophiles or Tuxophiles, depending on how you want to say it. They got their own name.
Yes, they do. They're shipped, as they like to say.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I know that there was something going on between Skimbleshanks and Jennyanydots. There was a lot of romantic dotted lines there, and lots of moments of tension because they were mom and dad. So they gave us a lot of good, like, blue collar miming moments in the background where if you're not watching it, you miss it. But it truly was the 3-act play within the play of Cats. Was Jeremy Davis and Eloise Kropp, and it was amazing. And it changed, it evolved, it grew.
Okay.
It was
okay. So I that one makes sense. That one's always just like they look the same color. Like we can kind of get behind
I guess
that.
so. Yeah, they get away with it.
Yeah. He's also the traveling on the road, come back in. Yeah. I always had him as an uncle though. Like so, I guess that could.
He gives uncle vibes.
I guess I could fit still with Jenny.
Yeah, he gives uncle vibes. He's definitely a trucker. Like he's definitely gone on the road.
I just actually posted this, so this will come out weeks later from us recording this. But they did an MTA Get People to Broadway kind of ad today, and they showed the original one, and there's old Deuteronomy is laying on the ground, and I see this, and I was like, "You have an entire song with a cat about being on a train, and you don't put that cat in the picture on a train?
It doesn't make any sense.
Like, what a miss!
What a miss! I agree. You have someone with the name The Railway Cat in their title.
They build a train in the song. And we're going to take a picture on a train, and we want to have one cat. And let's take the one that just kills somebody at the end.
Yeah, I don't get it.
What a miss. I'm going to be posting about that probably more than just.
Is there like a letter that you can write to somebody about that?
From like the 80s or 70s, whenever they like, I think it's probably, probably the 80s when they posted that picture, maybe 90s.
Gosh, yeah, you should. That seems like it should be fixed in post or something.
What about one like rumor? I think I tried to tie together, and maybe you can tell me if I'm completely off. But I think there's a potential Grizz, Jelly, Buster for love triangle.
Gosh. Oh, okay. I mean, definitely with you mean of like in the past. Sometime.
In the past, yeah, pre this ball. In the sense that I think Grizz and Jelly were friends, and then you can tell that Jelly doesn't like her anymore. And my theory is that Jelly and Bustford were together, which was a rumor. I think Grizz cheated on, or like Bustford cheated on Jelly with Grizz, and so it was like cheating with his friend or with like her best friend.
Snap. Oh yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, also Grizabella enters right after Bustford's thing is done or something like that in the show. So is that a coincidence, or is she hot on the trails of her ex-lover who is being kindly greeted by Jelly? Because I mean, think about it. Yeah, it's true. Grizabella is now an outcast, so like they don't have to worry about her.
Yeah.
And Bustopher always gave me mafia vibes in the first place.
Oh, I think Bustopher is the money behind McCavity's crime ring.
Yeah, and so, oh my God, wow. Actually, that just kind of blew my mind. I've never gone that far with it. No, but wow, that's great.
So this is all I think about with the show. Is these types of things with the plot lines, not the dance numbers or you going in halfway through the injuries or, a rake stage, like all these things I'm learning about. I haven't thought, a minute about any of those things until somebody in the cast tells me about it. I have
I
thought at
love that.
length about which cat could potentially be hooking up with which cat and which one, like, how does this family fit together?
Right. Okay. Well, I need to hear more of your theories now, because I feel like that one makes, I had the inkling of that obviously in the beginning, but that was fully evolved, and I feel like maybe I could like connect more dots if I knew more theories. Because we had a lot of our own choices that we made that,
but I want those theories. Like, I want your theories.
Those were so like nondescript, and I don't even know if it was because it was just me and those were the choices that I was making, and people were just going along with me, because I don't know. But like I think, well, Syllabub and Carbuckety, that was something that was a thing. Any cat that you have to have sex with in the Jellicle clump,
in the ball, yeah,
that you often then are like kind of paired with them.
And that's Alonzo and Victoria, right? Like, because they do their coming of age dance.
Plato, Plato. Because
sometimes it's Alonzo in certain productions.
I believe that. They love to pick and pluck and pull people in. Carbuckety doesn't exist half the time.
What about Victoria, Grisabelle being Victoria's mom?
See, I believe somewhat in that. I also kind of believe more in the familial ties of Bomb, Grizz, and Demeter. I feel like there's something going on there, that they're maybe sisters, or that trio just seems iconic to me. They all wear red lipstick. They're all like Macavity girls. You can tell that something like Grizz must have been just like the Regina George.
Yeah.
Okay. And something happened.
I love you said that, because there's been so many shows that have been tied to this, and now you're bringing Mean Girls in into this show as another version. So I think that one makes sense. It's definitely Bomb and Demeter being sisters is like, that's pretty known fact. And the other one that everyone keeps telling me is like, it's universal truth that Demeter was raped by Macavity. It's like that's the other like known fact that everyone just like accepts.
It's and therein lies many issues with cats and humanity and the commentary that could be made. And I don't know. I mean, that's what we were told for sure, that was her storyline, and it makes you very sad for Demeter, and it makes you like root for her. But there is no justice for it,
and that's why you want to kill Macavity at the end.
Yeah, he needs to either be like trapped in a safe or something, or like banished from the Jellicle tribe forever, never to return.
His song literally says that he's broken every human law.
Yeah,
which is crazy. Dude. I did have fun trying to think, like, what laws do you think, like, what's your favorite law you think he broke?
Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
for sure.
Okay. I was thinking more like really bizarre things, like tax evasion.
I'm sure he wired a car. Tax evasion, absolutely, but only of his owners. Like he committed tax fraud for his owner.
Yeah,
because he needed a human alias.
So okay, Grand Theft Auto. That's interesting. So he hotwired a car, took it out for a joyride.
Maybe multiple times. I mean, I also feel like probably like he could go to jail for like being an imposter, like identity theft.
Oh, that's interesting.
Something real slick. Yeah. Because he leaves the numbnuts, the children, the Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer, to break the windows and do the like stealing of pearls and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't think he meddled in any of that low level.
So that's also part of it.
That's a bad one. Yeah, that's really messed up. He loves to like, he's really cocky. There's not many things that I really like about him. I think that he's probably one of the most human characters in Cats.
Yeah.
He has a lot of negative. All of the other cats, for the most part, have really positive words about them. They represent like parts of humanity that we relate to, obviously, because it speaks to people in certain ways. But I think all of his qualities are horrible. There aren't any redeeming aspects of Macavity.
Yeah, just get him out. Okay. Yeah. Who else? What other? Before we move to the next kind of the rapid fire, what other kind of pairings did we not cover?
Well, let's see. I mean, Electra and Pouncival are obviously, to me, they always had a sweet friendship, because Syllabub was too hot. She like wanted Carbuckety and Plato. She wanted the older cats. But I think that Electra and Pouncival definitely had a sweet, like tender kindergarten type love for each other. And they may have also been brother and sister. But it's confusing in Cats because I don't know. I do believe that they openly accept incest in the Cats universe. It seems I'm just saying there's a lot of like Skimble's my uncle and my dad, and like things that just like the family tree
big incestuous tribe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think you just overlooked that in the thing. What about Monk? Like, what's going on with him?
Monk, to me, I feel my favorite theory I heard about him was that he was, I think it was Grisabella's son.
Grisabella's son. Okay.
Grisabella's son, which makes her a lot older, which in my mind, she's really not that old. She's kind of like, if she had people taking care of her, would still be a glamour puss.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting because it makes Monk younger in my mind. And it like falls into that like caricature of the young leading man. But Monk, I don't know. I mean, that one is confusing to me, I should say. It intrigues me because it kind of erases the familial ties to Baum and Demeter, because that would make him related to Demeter, which would then again create like a really messed up incestuous storyline. But is that true? Is Demeter Monkey Strap's aunt, and are we all just fine with it? Who knows?
It's possible. Okay, last one. Then I promise we'll move on.
I'm having a great time with this.
Are Jelly and Gus actually doing anything together? Are they together? Or are they just like? Is she really just a caretaker?
I really believe that she just loves him. There's some thoughts behind like maybe he's her grandfather.
Okay.
Or like dad or something, and she's just, or like truly just caretaker. Like they loved each other. You never know. They had a lot of beautiful thoughts about that. I mean, I know Chris Garrett talked a lot about it. He was brilliant, and you could tell when he was like thinking of a different word. Or one day I remember I was like moved, which is not saying anything because he's amazing, but when you see the show every day, sometimes you expect a certain choice. And Chris would always make the most beautiful and subtle choices. And I could tell that he was just like thinking about, one day he told me he was thinking about Alzheimer's and how that's affecting Gus. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I think she's there as a caretaker, and I think she's there as like his advocate, his like root to the younger members of the tribe, because she's the one that encourages the kids to come up and give him a second chance and listen to his story, which turns out to be pretty racist. But he's a great old guy, you know.
Well, there's been a few Cats canceled over time.
Unfortunately, Gus is canceled, but I don't know that he's entirely canceled.
He hasn't been fully canceled. There's been a couple that have like legitimately been stripped from the show over the years.
Wait, who?
I'll have to look it up. I think they just renamed them, honestly.
There's like Griddle Bone.
Yeah. So the
Growl Tiger.
That whole thing has been a little problematic.
Yeah, we didn't do that one.
Yeah, the Peaks and Pollicles and some of that stuff is. So yeah, there's been a little bit. There also was the rapping Tugger, which I don't know if he was canceled, but it was definitely a decision that got removed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that that's inappropriate, but I do believe that it was a choice that was made.
Okay, we've covered pretty much every Cat except for one, and I'm going to make you. I want to know, and I asked. It was Christopher Gurr, but I want to ask: what about Peter? What's Peter's story?
Peter, and as a dance captain, I feel like I actually know who Peter is because you have to put Peter into the opening number. And Peter is him. Peter's just this like weird cat that shows up to do the opening number. And Old Dude has one as well. And in certain versions of the show, Grisabella has one as well.
Baby Grizz.
Baby Grizz.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I don't know why they're meant to be in the opening number as people other than who they are or why they're in there at all. But yeah, Peter is, I would imagine that he's like a third tier member of the Jellicle tribe. He shows up for the hay and then he does like the Irish goodbye.
He's the worst.
Literally,
he's the worst
during
cat
the naming of cats.
possible.
Yeah. Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Peter,
not a fan.
Peter, I don't know much about other than that he is an imposter.
Well, my one, and this is very much not correct, but my thought for Peter could be is that if Peter and Baby Grizz are dancing at the same time, maybe he's Saint Peter, and it's baby Grisabella being reborn, coming back, and it's just like the ghost of Catsmas.
Wow, that's meta. That's like deep Cats meta.
That would be my Cats 2. That's my number one rating for Cats 2.
I do love that. I mean, that definitely is a very like legit, like I'm gonna say logical way to bridge the gap between Cats 1 and Cats 2.
Yeah, she has to come back and see all the like lives she ruined by being the choice.
Exactly. Gus is just shaking his little fisted paw towards the air, like, I'm gonna get you next time.
And what a better vessel than to do that than Peter, the worst cat ever, to be the person to take us around.
The Voldemort of cats, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go into some rapid fire, because otherwise we're going to talk about other cats incestuous like pairings for 2 more hours.
We've exposed too much.
If you played a lot of the characters, so you've got 7+ tracks, and it's a dance captain. I'm sure you did more. If you could do any cat, male, female, anyone, like just one time you want to go on, which character would you want to play?
Skimbleshanks, honestly. I never got to do Skimbleshanks, and he has my favorite song in the show. And he hits the step. He really does a lot of the dance moves, and Jeremy Davis was fantastic. And I feel like it would be so fun.
So that was my next question. His favorite song is Skimble?
My favorite song in Act 2, well, let me split it up so that's a little bit more fair. I think my favorite song in Act 2 has to be Skimbleshanks. It's just the pep that you did not know that you needed in the middle of Cats.
Yeah.
It's just really, like, we would even be on stage, like, actually just, like, losing our shit to it sometimes.
Wakes you up. Okay.
It does. Okay. The other thing I will say, so Act 1, my favorite song is, I think it might be Bustifer Jones.
Bustifer.
Yeah. Again, just like lighthearted, fun, goofy,
he's got
fun characters.
He has a big pimp cane and...
Yeah, everyone's on stage. It's fun. I like it.
All right. I like that. What about favorite and least favorite cat?
So my least favorite cat would have to be, oh, this is sad. This actually is sad. Okay. My least favorite cat, I think it's Pouncival, just because he's just there to watch. You know what I mean? He doesn't necessarily do anything to further the plot. And he doesn't necessarily do much that you would know about as a viewer to stand out. And I performed it a lot of times and I had a great time performing it. But I think that's my least favorite cat, just because he doesn't have a lot of things to bring to the table. He's so young. Mm-hmm. He's a kitten. He's told what to do. He stands there and he's like told to behave the whole time.
Yeah. He's just like, don't cry in the theater type of thing. Like, yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
What about favorite?
Favorite cat, period?
Yeah.
Wow. I really love, can I combine the twins as one cat?
Yeah, I think so. They're kind of
together. I think the twins are my favorite cats. They have the coolest storyline to me. I love their moves. I love like how they've furthered the plot along by dance with other cats, by touch, and I thought that was so cool.
I love it.
Such a random choice to have that was very well developed in the Cats universe.
It's the one that if I didn't know enough about it the times I've seen it twice on stage, like stage performances, and I feel like now that's those are the ones I'm going to be seeking out to be like, all right, where are the twins? What's going on? Like that's because it's such a unique storyline that I would have not picked up on probably until I became a super fan and saw it like way more times.
I agree. And doing it too, you have like a really cool vantage points of the show, because I guess they're always meant to be watching and seeing things. So they're always kind of just chilling, looking fierce, observing things, and then they jump in and do the most epic dances. And there was really nothing I didn't like about that cat.
That's awesome.
Those cats.
That's awesome. Okay, so almost last rapid fire question. This episode will be coming out in December. So we'll be nearing the holiday season and Christmas season. And I want to know, which cat do you think would be overly into Christmas?
Which cat? Okay. Overly into Christmas.
Yeah. Like which one has already, because, we're recording this in November? Like, which cat put down Halloween decorations, immediately put it up, and started playing Jennifer Lopez?
I think it's going to have to be Jelly Lorem.
Jelly, okay.
I do think Jelly is like full pumpkin spice latte until Christmas is in season. And then I think she's like hosting the ugly Christmas sweater party. I think that she's making the like hot treats for the cats. Auntie Jelly, that's what we called her. So I get very like, she lives alone Christmas time. It's very fun for her vibe.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
I was thinking between Bomb and Victoria, because I definitely find those, I think they're TikTok influencers. And I could see this being like, okay, there's a lot of like things I can do to like you said, pumpkin spice latte and
Yes.
getting their Starbucks Christmas cup and stuff like that. Like I could see them embracing.
I can see that. I can totally see that. I can totally see specifically the two of them being influencers.
Yeah.
And being successful at that within the cats universe and world.
So the $1 million question, which is what I've argued at length. So I hope you know this is coming. I've argued that I don't think Isabel is the right choice. Now I know one of your theories is let's kill McCavity and just be over with the show. But if you're Old Deuteronomy, who are you picking and why?
Okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm picking nobody that sang and campaigned for themselves. I've got to give it to my girl Cass. I think Cassandra has obviously been here for a very long time. She doesn't put on a show. She doesn't like require that you give her attention. She just like kind of low-key demands it. And I think that the misstep in granting Grisabella what should just be like common courtesy and friendship, like we don't have to put her on that big of a pedestal. I think Cassandra has lived 9,000 years waiting for this moment. So ultimately she has to be my choice.
I love that. I don't think anybody's made a Cass argument yet.
Yes. Amazing. I'm shocked though. I really feel like to me it's a dead ringer, but
well, Gus is the number one choice usually. Gus is the common argument.
So here's my question. Will Gus die if he's not chosen? And just be dead forever? Like
that's the hard part. If you ask, Gurr was the one who ruined everyone's Gus argument by saying he didn't think he had another life to live. So he thought if he died, he died. So that was why he didn't really want to go. I think that's just Gurr trying to justify him not getting picked every night, though.
Yeah, true.
But I think that's like that is the question. Is generally it really like the whole thing boils down to, and I think you covered it, of who's the most deserving, like, and what's the criteria that makes it most deserving. So if Old Deuteronomy is saying like, I don't care about the singing, that's not my criteria, it's just who I think is older and wise and deserves, then it's probably between Grizz, Gus, and Cass, and maybe like one or two other choices.
Yeah, I don't really think Bustafer stands a chance, and I think that he shows up as a distraction, knowing that he has too many ties on Earth to lead this life yet, namely in the Cats Mafia, the feline mafia. But
he's going to get killed at some point. Like he's going to he'll make a wrong step and someone will come for him, type of thing, like Soprano style.
I think so. I think that's how Bustafer will meet his end. And then Jenny, I think Jenny's actually not ready. I think she wanted to do a big old tap dance number and like show the kiddies how it was done. But I do believe Jenny wants to stay, namely for Skimble, because I don't believe that Skimble is ready.
Or you said it was Pouncival? Who's she?
Or maybe Pouncival.
So she's not ready to go because she's got her young buck keeping her busy.
She has eggs in the basket, I will say.
Yeah, Jenny's another interesting one because there are some thought, like you could make that argument too, because she's supposed to be on the older side, and but the argument's always that like she keeps everything in order.
Yeah, so she definitely was like we would not function without Jenny.
I like
she's
it.
Too important.
I'm all for Cass. I think that's a great choice. I think that makes a ton of sense.
She's so witchy. I just feel like it would make. I would. If they gave her maybe a little bit more in the show to let us in on the fact that she's been around for a long time, I think it would be really satisfying to see her fly away at the end.
If America voted, or the audience votes, like let's say we give the audience a clicker at the end and we pause the show, How do you think
Okay.
how do you think everyone would vote?
Well, I think we would have to give specific choices. I think that it's too broad to really know, but I think that the majority of the people would pick Old Deuteronomy
Mm-hmm.
because he's like the big old cat, and I think that they would just be like, oh yeah, him. But Gus, I feel like Gus to me is the obvious. If you're watching the show, he's like the heart wrenching choice.
Yeah. I think
You
Grizz
can't
actually
help.
has a chance if you do it that way because you'll have just finished Memory
Right, right,
and you get that kind of power ballad and see
right.
somebody amazingly belt it out. Like every time someone does it, it's like it's unbelievable.
Oh, and Mamie Paris
Mamie was
just like
incredible.
slayed us all every night. She never missed. She never faltered. She's a machine, but also emotional and like, oh, she never, yeah, professional. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm a huge Mamie Paris fan. I think that Grisabella, I think she deserved, after touching the cats, I think she deserved to stay with us. I was
Right?
always like, no, let's hug on her. Let's like keep her. Let's send Gus. Let's all celebrate. That would be so satisfying. But yeah, I don't know why. I really don't know why they chose Grizz.
I appreciate having somebody that has this much experience in the show agreeing with me and sticking with that this is the wrong creative choice by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
No, I'm actually not at liberty to say that it is the wrong creative
Yeah,
choice.
yeah.
But no, I'm kidding. I'm
You should
kidding.
not. You should not say that as someone who works in the industry and could potentially be in any one of his shows. I can say that as someone who's never going to
Exactly.
be on stage in any Broadway show. So if he gets mad at me, it's totally fine. He's not going to let me write Cats 2 anyways. So I have no
No,
skin in the
no.
game.
I think all opinions are welcome, and Cats is such a like a playground for opinion and creative extrapolation. So I agree.
I have to assume when you write a show with this loose of a plot that your goal is to spark some of this conversation. So I think he has to appreciate it.
I think it's what's kept the show relevant is because they've never really given us the apple to take a bite out of on why did they really make the show? Like why did they really
Lots and
do
lots of
it?
drugs.
Could have been. I
It's the
mean,
right time range for it.
the time was right for that. And honestly, I feel like the show goes to that level sometimes. You're like, how could you really think of this if you weren't in some altered state of mind?
It does. It is the number one question is do you recommend to like when friends come to see it to be intoxicated or on some other altered state of mind, or should they come in dead sober?
Right. I always say have a drink. If you're a drinking type of person, drink at Cats. You'll have a great time.
I wish someone would have told me that the first time I saw it. I saw a matinee on a Saturday, and no one told me that, and I was sober and not at all aware of what I was walking into. So it
Yeah,
was an experience.
that's a wake up call. A sober Cats is definitely a wake up call.
Yeah, a sober Cats not knowing what Cats is about at all is
right. I
is
mean,
a lot.
wow.
Yeah.
And you were like you were an adult when this happened. You had
It
never.
was 2016. I had just moved to New York.
Wow.
I had never seen it. I'd only lived in the city for like a couple weeks at that point, and I was given preview tickets, and I was like, "Yeah, this show's been around forever. Like, why not? I like seeing theater. Like, I like musicals. Like, I like live events. It's to me, I would go to a lot of sporting events, like I said, but to me, seeing Broadway shows, it's like watching professional athletes. So you're seeing the best of the best do something that's incredibly hard and talented. Like, it's something that majority of people can't do at all. And so I appreciate that. Like, I really enjoyed that, but I was not prepared for what I saw. Like, I wish I would have had some warning.
That's fair. I mean, everything you just said is fair. And Cats is one of those shows. Sometimes it's really rewarding based off of how much effort you actually have to put into it to be in it and to like be healthy while you're in it. But every now and then someone comes to the show and would live for the performances that they were getting, and they would come to the stage door and talk about it, and that's enough. You know what I mean? Like we're definitely up there doing it mainly because we love it, but also because other people love it. And I think that is like the engine of Cats.
Yeah,
especially when you're in it, the people that are coming to see it kind of keep you going.
Yeah, there's a group. They'll come in costume and
ready
to go.
We encouraged it. We welcomed that because it was a safe space for people who loved cats
Love
and
it.
who needed to come. Yeah.
Well, this has been eye-opening. I definitely, I now need to. I think we got to update There's a rumor mill cats Wikipedia fan page, and I've promised, and I've not actually done it yet. But I feel like I need to update all the rumors that I have either created or have heard, and now I need to add Jenny and Pouncival to that rumor list because I don't think that's on there.
Yeah, I hope that one's a hot topic. That one's going to be confusing across the board for everyone.
Yeah, I love it. Anytime we can add to these dotted lines, it's great. And then you're gonna get one person to be like, "There's no way," and it's like, "Well, we talked to Pouncival."
And you'll be like, there honestly is no way. You're right.
Yeah.
Because it's cats.
Yeah. Amen. How can we find you on social media and stay in touch?
You can follow me on Instagram at Tanner Ray Wilson. It's my name. Easy to find. Follow at your own risk. That's all I'll say.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on and humoring me through all this and enlightening me on all kinds of stuff and making a different Jellicle choice. It's been fantastic.
Thank you for having me. It is so fun to get to talk lightheartedly and creatively about cats.
That's
someone who did it in the throes of it. Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
Yeah, I'm here to bring a different perspective to the show than the hard-hitting news that comes out about cats all the time.
I can't believe we didn't talk about the movie at all. So maybe we have to do a part 2 at one point.
We'll save that for another day. We can do a part 2. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.